Intuition or anxiety, and how I learned the difference. We are on day 13 of 100 daily videos, and I want to talk all about. I want to make sure this microphone's on. It is. I want to talk all about the difference between anxiety and intuition and how easily the two can get confused. And I feel like this is going to land for so many of you because a lot of the anxious clients that I work with are oftentimes sharing the struggles that they have with determining whether something is excited or anxious, or if it's their intuition or anxiety. We're going to talk about some of my stories and how I really was able to decipher the difference. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to start navigating both deciphering and leaning more into your intuition versus anxiety. So, if you're new here, my name is Brianna. I am first and foremost a 20 plus year licensed clinical psychotherapist, but I am also a multifaceted mentor working for 6 to 7 figure CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to help them bridge the gap between the success in their professional life and the struggles in their personal life so that they are all around living in joy, peace, and authenticity. I'm also an author and a speaker, and I am so excited to be here. So let's jump into it. I got some notes here. So, for most of my adult life, I obviously thought that I was living in anxiety. I knew because of my upbringing and because of my life experiences that I was already somebody who was hypervigilant, waiting for the other shoe to drop, running away from issues very quickly. And so I second guessed every decision I had. And what happened was that led me to stay in relationships that weren't for me, that had me confusing intuition and fear when it came to medical issues I started having and what doctors were telling me. And it also helped me to leave after divorce and start over from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. And so if you have ever asked yourself, is this my intuition talking or is this just anxiety? Believe me, I know where you're at, and I truly believe that this is going to help you. We get these two confused all of the time. Trauma and anxiety, overwhelm, heightened levels of stress can mimic intuitive things, right? Because you get this strong hit about something. You get the butterflies in your stomach. You get the hair on the back of your neck. You get like a tightening in your muscles. And women specifically are conditioned to question their intuition and second guess everything. And especially if you're already an anxious person, then you're doubling down on second guessing as is. And so when you have a feeling and you're not certain if it's anxiety or intuition, I want to share some ways for you to start to become aware of that. Because anxiety oftentimes wants to control situations, whereas intuition wants you to be aligned. So anxiety is much more controlling in response. Whether you have a fight, flight, or freeze response, there's still a level of control in that. So take a step back from what you're doing currently and ask yourself if it's intuitive or anxiety, just based alone on, does this feel aligned, or do I feel like I'm trying to control an outcome, control a situation, control a person? Anxiety is much more future focused. When you have an anxious feeling inside, there is typically two things happening. You are preparing not to repeat something you've experienced in the past, and you are also preparing for what might happen in the future. Intuition is very present based. Intuition is very present based. So, I want to tell you a couple of stories so that you can see how I learned through my own experiences and why I am so qualified to talk to you about this. The first one was in my relationships. Now, I, post divorce, my relationships all gave me some sort of feeling that something was off. And whether it was not being able to eat for several days, butterflies in my stomachs, like things not making sense when I was trying to line up what was happening. And I rationalized it. Well, this is just because, I must not be worthy. This is because I haven't done enough. This is because I need to do more. This is because um, I, wasn't clear on what I wanted. This is because, they're busy or they're this or they're that, right? And so there was a lot of anxiety, backed patterns of behaving that were laced in that response. But I would spiral. I would spiral and I would spiral. And I know you anxious people know what I'm talking about when I say I spiral, like crazy things, just the things that I did, how I felt, the emotional responses I had. And so I would still stay in these relationships, even though I knew something was off and I felt like crap. What I can tell you is the contrast of being intuitive in these moments where something feels off is I would not act on what was happening. I would feel what was going on and I would say something and immediately feel calm. I would set a boundary and immediately feel calm. I would say no or end the relationship and immediately feel calm. Whereas with anxiety, when you're doing any of these things, it actually feels more chaotic. It feels more stirred up. It feels more dysregulated. And so, one of the things that I want you to pay attention to is when something is intuitively coming to you, even painful and hard decisions bring you peace. When you are in an intuitive response, even the painful, most challenging decisions will bring you peace. But anxiety, even the safest decisions make you feel like complete crap. So I want that to land because moving forward, one of the first questions you're going to ask yourself is, am I going to feel at peace after this? What am I wanting? If I'm wanting peace, here's the direction I'm going to take. If I'm wanting uncertainty, here's the direction I'm going to take. Uncertainty will feed more anxiety. Peace is going to feed that intuitive hit. And what I know to be true about your intuitive decisions is those are God led, right? So that means you are in purpose, on purpose, and you are walking in alignment with where He is taking you. So there is always peace when you're in lockstep with Him. My second story is about moving from the West Coast to the East Coast. And here is how I want to show you that intuition is peaceful because there was not there were so many things about this move that were challenging. Number one, getting the letter the day before I left that I did not get reciprocity for my license. So I was moving to the opposite end of the US with no job security. I was talking to somebody that was not being consistent and not giving me what he had been giving me before. So that was scary and uncomfortable. And I was moving to a place that I had never been. I didn't even see the house that I rented. And yet, this entire trip, I felt so at ease and so in alignment. So, this is proof where when you feel calm, when you feel safe, when your mind is quiet, when you're not spiraling, when there's no dread, you're in an intuitive, you are moving into a yes that you're meant for, right? You are moving into a yes that you're meant for versus like you'll start moving too fast. You'll be like, you're going to say, like, I could have said, I moved too fast. I made mistakes. What was I thinking? The year that I had after this divorce, moving to um, South Carolina was hell. I moved here with two dogs, had to put them down within 6 months of each other. The guy that I was talking to ended up being a shady mofo. Um, I didn't have a job. I didn't have any friends. Like, it was crazy. It was like on paper, it made no sense. There was no guarantees. There was nothing for me here. Like, what was I doing? But I felt so good. I felt so good about it. Nothing about it made me regret it. And there was no part of me that said that I wanted to like leave and I should just like end my lease and go back to California. Excuse me. I felt so good. And so I want you to recognize that as you're making decisions, anxiety will catastrophize everything, but intuition doesn't argue, it stays steady. Intuition keeps you steady. So no matter how much you're going through, as long as you again are in alignment with what the spiritual part of you is directing you to do, you're going to feel steady no matter what comes at you. Now, my third story is about me getting sick, which I've already talked about. But I remember going through this process and telling doctor after doctor, something is wrong. This isn't normal. I am not sick like this all of the time. Something is wrong. And I kept getting gaslit, like it might be this, it might be that, it might be this. And it made me start to question my own sanity. It made me start to question, like, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just anxious and I need to take these anxiety pills and that's going to solve everything. But what I know to be true is that, like, anxiety, you guys, this is what I need you to hone in on. Anxiety is loud, it's intrusive, it's obsessive, it does not let up. Intuition is like a silent whisper. Can silent and whisper be in the same word? No, like a quiet whisper. Intuition is like a quiet whisper. It's faint. It drops in and then it goes away. And so all of this time that I was sick, I just this feeling something is wrong, like something is up. This doesn't make sense. And so I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I wasn't going through anxiousness. I was so aligned with myself, but I didn't have the answer. And I was looking to these people in authority to give it to me, and they couldn't. And so I knew that I was just disconnected from some of my own authority because I had never been through something like this. But yet I kept deepening my authority through that experience, because that experience alone really helped me understand how powerful your intuition is and how important it is to listen to it. So there's a few differences that I want to talk about when it comes to intuition and anxiety. Number one is intuition brings peace, right? Even if it's hard, intuition is going to bring peace. Hard does not mean you're going the wrong direction. Challenges that you face does not mean you're making the wrong decision. Conflict doesn't ultimately mean that you need to change direction. No, intuition will still bring you peace even when things are off. Also, it is scary. Scary does not equal misalignment. Making decisions, making big decisions, going through something and not having answers, all of those things are scary, but that ultimately does not mean that you're misaligned. So remember, intuitive choices are always aligned. Anxious choices are like a chicken with his head cut off, screaming, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Peace is always going to be your confirmation. So oftentimes I will say, God, if this is you, if your hand is on this, then show me through your peace. Allow me to feel peace in this decision. And if I'm not at peace, then it's not for me. And I just continue to stay in alignment with being with that. And when I tell you the story about how my husband and I met and what happened while we were dating, this is going to ring true to you. So I'll have to like link it somehow, because it really is true that peace needs to become your confirmation. Number two, anxiety is loud and obsessive, and intuition is quiet and clear. So I want to read some things off to you that I wrote. Anxiety spirals, it's urgent, it's catastrophic, it tries to control everything. But intuition is like a faint sentence, repeats gently. There is no shame. Remember that shame thrives in anxiety. When you are making intuitive choices, it's all grace, it's all trust, it's all faith, it's patient, it's kind, and it doesn't panic. So if you have to argue with yourself about anything, if you are stewing and spinning and turning and ruminating, that's not a choice for you, because intuition doesn't exist in that same. I want you to think of like intuition as the 5-star restaurant that you're going to sit at, and anxiety is like a Wendy's drive-through. There's no comparison to how you want to choose. The third one is your body knows before your mind will accept it. And that's one thing that us anxious people get really stuck in, because our mind tends to take control and uncertainty and wants to predict all these outcomes, or um, fantasize all of these different scenarios. But the truth is that your body is always aware before your mind is. And so making a decision intuitively means listening to your body more and shutting your mind off more. Anxiety is all mind and not a lot of body. So you are calm and collected, you are regulated, you're not forcing things, right? Like these three in the relationships, I was constantly dysregulated because I was forcing things that weren't meant for me. My move from West Coast to East Coast, I was super calm and at peace because I was moving with what my body was saying. Like this felt like such a great choice for me, even though it literally made no sense. So, how do you strengthen your intuition? I have some suggestions for you. Number one is slowing down your decision making. You have to be in control of yourself before you can say yes. If your mind is out of control, it's not the time to say yes. Um, if you're feeling out of control, it's not the time to say yes. And intuition comes in when you move at a slower pace. There's no rush, there's no hurry. Um, I told my husband, when we were looking for houses, when I was getting sick in the last apartment, we obviously had to make a more emotionally driven decision. And while I love our house and I know that there's a lot that we get to improve and grow in on it, had we not been forced to rush a decision, I probably wouldn't have picked this home. And I would have taken more time to choose something that fit more of what was on our like checklist of desires. The number second one is stop asking 100 people about their opinion. When you get other people's opinions, it confuses you and it overwhelms you. You do not need other people's opinions. You have a spiritual guide inside of you that can direct you. God knows exactly what he's doing and where he's taking you. So can you trust that instead of putting all of your trust in other people who either A, have not been where you've been, or B, are not you? They're just not you. So they will never decide like you. You will only be the one that decides like you. So stop asking other people. Number three, notice what happens after you act. Again, once you act, are you at peace, or do you feel like you're stuck in some sort of chaos? Because that's going to give you some very, very important information. Now, what do you do if you've made a decision and the peace doesn't come and you're still in chaos? That's okay. That means you need to stay in that area or go back to where you were until you find the hit, the intuitive hit that is leading you to the next decision you're making. Number four is journal. I'm an avid journaler. I hate journaling, but I'm an avid journaler and I encourage everybody to journal. Journaling helps you clear your mind. It helps you sift through any emotional um, garbage that's in the way, any mental garbage that's in the way, so that you can find clarity. Number five is you've got to regulate your nervous system. So this could look like exercise, showering, grounding techniques, tapping, deep breathing, meditating, praying, reading your Bible. I mean, the sky is the limit, but you've got to be able to regulate your nervous system. A dysregulated nervous system will never be able to connect to the intuitive part of you because it's constantly preparing for danger. And listen, whether you make a good decision or a bad decision, there's nothing ever dangerous in a decision unless you're literally putting yourself in danger of, losing money, um, being in an unsafe situation, like whatever it may be. But like anxiety, when it comes to making decisions about things, like we over um, catastrophize a lot through the anxious mind. The next one is you've got to heal some of your trauma, because trauma responses can disguise themselves as intuition. So again, as a recovering anxious person myself, I know that a lot of times what I thought was an intuition to like stay in a relationship was really a trauma response, right? That was really anxiety. The more that I learned about myself, and so you can't decipher a, an anxious, fearful decision and an intuitive decision if you're still living both physically with trauma stuck in your body, but also mentally by, again, preparing yourself to not repeat a situation from the past. The next one is spending time alone. I am an avid encourager of having quiet solace. You need it. You need it to get to know yourself. You need it to get to know your thoughts. You need it um, to get to know aloneness. Being alone is a great gift to yourself. Being in silence is a great gift to yourself. But so many people are uncomfortable with the idea of even doing it, let alone doing it in and of itself. So, this is very valuable to create alone time for yourself so that you can not only hear what God is downloading into you, but also just hear you in the decision versus being surrounded by people constantly all the time, feeding you their opinion from their experiences and their belief systems, because that's not you. And you can't make decisions from other people. And the last one is pray. You've got to pray for discernment. Again, I'm constantly asking God, help me to see what you see from your perspective for my life and lead me to make decisions that bring me more peace. If I do not have peace, then I know it's not from you. So make that clear. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. But the more that you release your decision to God and trust intuitively that you are connected to Him, and so He's going to guide you and lead you to the best outcome possible, anxiety has no power in that at all. At all. So I want you to consider this. The longer that we've all got phones, right? We all have the ability to map out um, our directions from one place to another. The longer that you go without a map and you make turns to get to a destination you're going to that you've never been before, think about it. You're going to get lost. It's going to take you longer. You're going to lose gas. You're going to put more wear and tear on your car. But your intuition carries so much wisdom that it's going to keep you on course and get you to where you want to go quicker. Okay? So learn the difference between your fear and your intuition by allowing peace to be the leading, deciphering factor when you are making choices. Okay? Got to connect to yourself. Got to come back to yourself. There's so much value that you carry for yourself. All right. My name is Brianna. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. Mwah.